This is the Weber County Commission meeting here the 19th day of June 2018. It's 10 o'clock and we're going to begin. Present today at our commission meeting to my left is Commissioner James Ebert. To my right is County Manager Sean Wilkinson, Acting Commissioner, and I'm Jim Harvey. Our invocation today will be by Carlo Macapugai. Yes. Thank you. And our Pledge of Allegiance will be led by Scott Park. Our thought of the day will be given by Commissioner Ebert.
Thank you, Commissioners. Let's pray. Our Father in heaven, we thank you for the privilege of being able to open these meetings in prayer. And Lord God, we ask that you have your eyes and your hands over this meeting. And Lord God, we also thank you for these commissioners, and we ask that you would continue to give them wisdom as they lead our great county. Again, Father, we thank you. May all things be done decently in order. In the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
Will the audience please arise and pledge allegiance with me? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Chair?
Please.
Really quick thought of the day. The most important political office is that of the private citizen. That's it.
That's perfect. We welcome today, by the way, friends and family of Scott Jenkins. We're glad you're here. We appreciate that. We also recognize our Weber County Republican Party Chair, Linda Pipkin, and her husband, Carrie, who's joined us today as special guests. Before we get going with item number E on our agenda, a couple of announcements that are rather unique to Weber County that are very important. On Saturday, this coming Saturday, June the 23rd, we're happy to announce that the North Branch Library, this is the one that's located out in North Ogden, will be opening. We have the open house is from 12:30 to 5:30, but there's a ribbon cutting at noon where their doors will open. So again, this coming Saturday at noon, the North Branch Library. It's a beautiful structure. What once was a main floor with a basement has now been opened up with a beautiful double-tiered staircase. It's absolutely wonderful. And for our residents in the north end of the valley, of this Ogden Valley, it'll be absolutely phenomenal for them as a great learning center since the library teams turned the use of libraries and modernized them. We're really excited. So that's this coming Saturday, the 23rd at noon, out at the North Branch Library. More information can be found at #winningatweber. Commissioner Ebert, you have an announcement as well.
Yeah, I'd just like to announce that our TEDx Ogden, these shirts are hard to come by, will be, this event will be happening June 29th. It starts at 7 o'clock. You can purchase tickets at the Perry's Egyptian Theater or through Smith Tix, and we'll have 8 speakers. We've been very fortunate in this event and in our last event that it creates a tremendous amount of buzz, not only throughout this county, but probably throughout the country. TEDx is a big event and it draws a very particular crowd, and it's a crowd that I think brings a tremendous amount of value to our community. But we'd love to have community members be a part of it and to attend it. Again, June 29th at 7 o'clock, and you can get tickets at Perry's or through Smith Tix. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Appreciate it. Commissioner Wilkinson?
Well, the last week has been very interesting, but I think I'll leave the governing to you, and I will retire from this position in about 5 minutes. So I'd like to announce that.
Awesome. Okay. Moving on to our consent items. Number 1 is a request for approval of warrants 1464 to 1476 and 429157 to 429324 in the amount of $3,856,569.49. Item number 2 is a request for approval of purchase orders in the amount of $127,658.28. Item 3 is a request for approval of the minutes from the meeting held on June the 12th, 2018. I trust you reviewed those rather thoroughly.
I did.
Okay, good. Item number 4 is a request for, from the Weber County Assessor's Office for approval to surplus cubicles, furniture, and equipment. Item number 5 is a request for approval of a retirement agreement by and between Weber County and Julian Valerio. Item number 6 is a request for approval of ratification of the Depot Drive Construction Project Change Order number 12, which adjusts the contract dollar amount originally presented in an interlocal agreement with the state of Utah for their construction of Depot Drive. Just a house cleaning item. Item 7 is consideration and action on a request to amend a previously approved conditional use permit for the Edgewater Beach PRUD Amendment number 2. The amendment will reduce the number of storage units and increase their size, as well as increase the size of the commercial pad on Phase 1. That's a CUP 2017-22. Do commissioners any discussion on any of the consent items this morning?
None for me, Chair.
None being recognized. Mr. Lynn Taylor, taking the place of Ricky Hatch today.
Thank you, Commissioner. So you've got the full list. You've had a chance to review that. We're grateful for the opportunity to highlight some of the more significant ones for the public. We had 181 warrants totaling $3.8 million. 32% or $1.2 million of that went to the state of Utah for public works projects. 21% or $805,000 went to health insurance. 12% or $460,000 went to the transfer station for disposal. All others were less than 5%. We had 18 purchase orders totaling almost $128,000. 38% of that, or $48.3 thousand, was to the health department for vehicles. 26% or $32.7 thousand to the library for a variety of furniture and supplies. 16% or $20,000, Ogden Eccles Conference Center for a switcher unit. And finally, 9%, $11,000 went to special event supplies for Weber County Fair, and all others were 5% or less.
Thank you. Commissioners, after that report, any questions? None being heard, I'll call for the vote. All in favor to approve the consent items?
I'll make a motion, we adopt the consent items.
Second.
Aye.
Aye. Then now the vote. Aye. Thank you. Motion carries. Our first action item today is a request for approval of inauguration or appointment of a new commissioner, seat B. Our new lead civil attorney, Chris Crockett, here. Mr. Crockett, do we approve the resolution before the inauguration, or how does that flow?
The appointment would take place from the recommendation, the name submitted by the party, and then once that appointment is made, the individual will take the oath of office, and after that point, they will be qualified to serve in the position as a Weber County Commissioner. So the resolution and then the oath of office.
The resolution first, then the oath of office.
Yes.
I'm going to add one more little piece into that. I'd like to be on the Weber County record. I'd like a formal recommendation from the Weber County Republican Party. So, Ms. Linda Pipkin, I'm going to ask that you come up to the microphone and give us a formal recommendation on how that all happened, since this is somewhat historic for Weber County. If you'll come forward and just give us maybe a 2-minute how this all happened last night at the...
Linda Pipkin, North Ogden. Last night, the Weber County Republican Party Central Committee met, and we had a special election to elect a replacement commissioner for the outgoing Commissioner Carrie Gibson. We had 2 candidates. We had Scott Jenkins and Nathan Hale. We held an election using the same rules that were used when Carrie Gibson was first elected to this position for the last term, and the winner of that election was Scott Jenkins. So the Weber County Republican Party declares that Scott Jenkins is the winner to take over the rest of the interim for the County Commission seat B.
Thank you, Linda. I'll read the resolution. I'll read the resolution now, which is, Fatima, what is that resolution number?
22.
Resolution number 22. Resolution of the Board of Weber County Commissioners of Weber County appointing Scott Jenkins as an interim Weber County Commissioner for seat B. whereas Kerry W. Gibson resigned his position as a member of the Board of Weber County Commissioners, or Commission, on June 5th, 2018, and whereas notice was given of the vacancy to the party liaison of the same political party of the prior office holder, requesting that that name be submitted to the Commission for appointment of an interim county commissioner for seat B pursuant to Utah Code 20A-1-508, and whereas the Commission has received the name of Scott Jenkins and now desires to confirm that selection by appointing him as the interim Weber County Commissioner to fill the remaining unexpired term for seat B. Now therefore, pursuant to the provision of Utah Code 20A-1-508, the Board of Commissioners of Weber County hereby appoints Scott Jenkins as an interim Weber County Commissioner to fill the remaining unexpired term for seat B. This appointment shall be effective upon adoption of this resolution and Scott Jenkins becoming qualified by taking the oath of office. A copy of this resolution shall be forwarded to Scott Jenkins. I resolve this the 19th day of June 2018, and it would be by myself, Commissioner Jim Harvey, Commissioner James Ebert, and it says Commissioner Wilkinson. And so, Commissioners, are there any questions? Then I'll entertain a motion.
I move for approval of resolution number 22.
Second.
We have a motion and a second for this resolution. If there's no more discussion, then I'll call for the individual vote of this resolution. Fatima?
Commissioner Ebert?
Aye.
Mr. Wilkinson?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Scott has invited his brother, Jay, to come up and perform that swearing in, so to speak, and we'll take care of that now. Is that correct, Mr. Crockett?
Yes.
Yeah, that'd be great. So I think you just make sure that you speak loud into the mic if you would, there, Mr. Jenkins.
You're welcome to turn.
Okay.
On the other side of the podium if you want.
You know, yeah, that's whatever works for you. That's
Okay.
great.
That'll work. Okay, for the state of Utah and the county of Weber. Repeat after me. I, Scott Kent Jenkins,
I, Scott Kent Jenkins,
do solemnly affirm
do solemnly affirm
that I will support, obey, and defend the Constitution of the United States
that I will support, obey, and defend the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the state of Utah,
and the Constitution of the State of Utah,
and that I will discharge the duties of my office with fidelity.
and that I will discharge the duties of my office with fidelity.
Done.
Thank you very much.
We ask you now,
Thank you.
Scott, if you'll come and take your place. Sean, nice having you here. No, we operated under Sean's with no tax increase, by the way. Let's give him a round of applause.
He tried. He tried several times.
We're gonna hold on, just if you'll move in here just for a quick Shelley picture, really quick. Do we have his new plaque up, Shelley?
Put it in.
Yes.
Already, that's awesome. As part of this action item number one, did you have something to say, Commissioner?
Well, I think Mr. Nathan Gale is here. I'm just going to recognize him.
Great. Well,
Thank you for being interested enough to show up and run for the office. So it's nice to have interested folks that are part of the process.
it is. Thank you, Nathan. Scott, I'd like you to take a couple minutes and recognize those who are with you, maybe take just a few minutes.
Thank you very much. I'm excited to introduce those who are with me today. First of all, I want to introduce my brothers, Jay and Lee. Why don't you two stick your hand up in the air so everybody can see who you are. They're my little brothers. You'd never know it. They're both considerably bigger than me. Jay was the mayor of Plain City recently out there. He's not anymore. And he's a political wonk. That's why I had him swear me in today. He's really good. And he brought his wife, Barbara, with him. My little brother Lee has been supportive of me forever, and I really love and appreciate him. So then, on the row in front of him, I have grandchildren. I have Addison and Olivia and Brianne, and that cute little kid in the suit is Colin. And then I have my wife, Becky, and my daughter, Irene. They're with me here today, and I really appreciate you guys coming to support me. This is neat as heck. It's exciting to be here today for me. I was telling Commissioner Harvey, as a state senator, I served 16 years as a state senator, and I held the position that my uncle Merrill held as a senator, and he held the same position that his uncle held, Rulon. And Merrill worked in the office right across the street, First Security Bank building. Then years later on, my other uncle, Bruce, he was a county assessor for 16 years. And then he ran, and he was a county commissioner, Bruce was, for one term, 4 years. So my family has a great deal of history in municipal and state government. And I must admit, I feel the weight of that and the responsibility that goes with it. And it's cool. It's cool being part of a family that does this kind of stuff. So anyway, I'm excited to be here today, and it's a privilege to serve. And hopefully we can get some good things done for the state. And all the rest of you that I know so well, thank you for being here today. Thank you.
Commissioner, we welcome you. We're glad you're here, and it's great to have you along with us.
Thank you.
We're going to refer you to on the action items on our agenda, and we'll just keep moving with this agenda. We'll have a moment here, hopefully not too long, for some public comments, if any of you feel. In fact, if there's any comments related to Scott's appointment, let's just, with your permission, Commissioners,
You bet.
if any of you would like to just comment on Scott's acceptance or inauguration or as commissioner? Okay, Nathan, great.
Nathan Hale, Royce City. I just want to give you my congratulations. I am a Weber County delegate and a state delegate, and the vice chair of Precinct 16 in Roy. And I just want to say that it took a little bit of finagling to get you the nomination for the Republican Party, but we pulled it off. I went and put my letter of intent last week. I have no idea why I did it, but I thought it would be a good idea to at least put my hat in the ring and say, here I am. But it's an awesome thing to be able to totally support you in this position, and let's make some things happen. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hale.
I told him last night I thought it was pretty historic. How many people do you know that gets to run against Nathan Hale? That's a cool name.
This year, Weber County Republican Party had several really great candidates running, and I'll have to say that we're in Weber County. We have a lot of dairy farmers, but in the instance of Scott Jenkins, the cream rose to the top, and we're sending him on to you. He always serves with integrity, and he understands the proper role of government. He understands limited government, and that's why he will be great for Weber County. Congratulations.
Thanks, Linda. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Anyone else? Carrie? Quinn? Quinn, you like coming to the mic? Not right now. That's great. Super. Then we'll move on to action item number 2. Mr. Chris Crockett. This is a request for approval of a resolution of the Weber County Commissioners of Weber County appointing members to the Weber Morgan Health Board. A WACOG seat will be filled August 6, 2018 after the WACOG meeting. And this will have some discussion on it. Mr. Crockett, will you go ahead and tell us where we are with this process?
Yes, thank you, Commissioners. An amended interlocal agreement for the Weber Morgan Health Department was approved by Morgan County on May 15th and then approved by the Weber County Commission on May 23rd. As part of that agreement, there was a restructuring of the board member positions. The time now has come to make appointments for those board member positions pursuant to Utah Code 26A11091A. Board members shall be appointed pursuant to county ordinance or interlocal agreement by the counties creating the local health department. The appointments that are made by Weber County, there are 11. The other 2 will be made by the Morgan County Council. Those members will consist of 1 representative from the Weber County Commission. 2 members will represent municipal interests. 1 shall be recommended by Ogden City. The other one from WACOG, which noted on the agenda will happen at a later date. 1 recommendation will come from the Weber Medical Society. 1 on a rotating basis between the 3 school districts that are represented in Weber and Morgan counties, Ogden, Morgan, and Weber school districts. And when the commission makes that appointment, it will need to determine which district will go first, and then establish the rotation for subsequent terms. 1 member will be recommended by Weber State University in an area specializing in health administration or public health. 1 recommended by Weber Human Services. 1 recommended on a rotating basis again by either Ogden Regional Hospital or McCady Hospital. 1 recommended by Midtown Community Health Center in Ogden that represent at-risk populations, and then 2 at-large positions, 1 representing environmental interest, and then the other 1 business.
Thank you, Mr. Crockett. So this is our responsibility today, since the makeup of the board, and we have Brian Benyon here today. Brian, do you have any comment on any of this? He's the director of our Weber Morgan Health Department.
I don't think at this time.
Will you come to the mic? No, you don't have any comment for this time? So our responsibility today is to basically appoint. The structure of the board has already been approved. So our desire today, or our responsibility, is that correct? Our responsibility today is to appoint members of the health board. I will just tell you what I know about the appointments that are in our packet. For the Weber County Weber Medical Society, the application is Mr. or Dr. Frank Brown. From Weber State University, it's Dr. Ken Johnson. From Ogden City, the recommendation is Neil Garner. For the Weber Human Services Director is Mr. Kevin Eastman. The Midtown Center Director, their recommendation was Alicia Martinez. For the environmental representative, there are 2 for you to consider, commissioners: Ms. Jennifer Bodine or Joe DeCaria. For the local business representative, it's a local pharmacist, Cole M. Brinkerhoff. The hospital representatives, and this will be something for you to choose, from McCady will be Donna Chapman. If it's Ogden Regional said that they will provide a name if the commission would like them to be on the first rotation. Otherwise, McCady will be the first rotation of hospitals. The school district for Ogden, the representatives were Karen Harrop of Ogden or Lori Jo Rasmussen from Weber School District. And then the name from Morgan School District has not yet been submitted to us. And the WACOG representative is not yet been submitted. And we also, in as much as a commissioner is appointed to that board, we can have discussion on who the commission representative is as well. So commissioners, I'll turn that time for you over to each of you for discussion of any of those. Again, the first representative or the first discussion could be the environmental representative. Jennifer Bodine or Joe DeCaria. Are there any comments on either one of those two or on any of the names read previously?
I don't have any comments.
I do have a question. When it comes to Jennifer Bodine or Joe DeCaria, do you have you interviewed them, or have we talked to them at all? Or is this just simply a recommendation?
Mr. Benyon, now I'm going to ask you to come to the mic, whether you have a comment or not, but I'm going to ask you to comment on this. And Mr. Crockett, in as much as you're or have been the legal counsel for the Weber Morgan Health Department Board, to also participate in this, please.
Of course.
Okay, so these names, we put out applications, and they submitted these based on these applications. So these were the applications for the at-large positions that we received, and we passed those on.
So have you interviewed them?
Yes, we know both Jennifer and Joe, and then I haven't interviewed Cole Brinkerhoff at all. I just received his application.
So in Jennifer or Joe's cases, one or the other we're picking today?
Yes.
Okay. So do you have a recommendation of one over the other?
They're both excellent candidates. We've worked with Jennifer with the sustainability effort at Weber State University. She does a wonderful job there. She served on our Air Quality Advisory Commission, did a great job. Joe DeCaria, I know from past experience, he served as the Environmental Health Director for the Weber Morgan Health Department several years ago. Has excellent background in environmental health.
Thank you.
Commissioners, any other discussion?
Just really quickly, so we have kind of a decision today between Weber and Ogden, kind of depending on what we want that rotation. I think initially for me, my preference would be to look at a representative from Ogden School District just to start out. We have several projects that are really focused into downtown inner city Ogden, and one of the large partners we have in many of these, especially physical and environmental health issues, is Ogden School District. So my recommendation this time is, as we look at who fills that initial seat from the school district, we look at Ogden City.
Can I just add something? You know, we're going to value all input from all three of these school districts, and we're hoping that whoever is serving around the table for those 3 years, they're meeting and discussing with the other school districts, so it's representative of what the needs are in our health district.
If I could also add really quickly, McKay-Dee also is up for rotation, and they just started a brand new program that I think has, again, a big footprint into a lot of the physical and environmental health issues, proper nutrition, things like that. And I just think that for this initial getting this off the ground, McKay-Dee would probably be a good focus for now.
And then, commissioners, if it's all right, if something for you to consider as you go forward, you are welcome to establish, after determining which school will go first, what the subsequent rotation would be of the other schools, or upon expiration of that term for the school district, you can determine at that point who the next school will be, who will rotate. And then also, under state statute, the initial board is staggered so that approximately 1/3 of the terms will expire each year, so that at all times we have a functioning board and that we can always convene a quorum. The health department and the attorney's office has submitted a recommendation as to times to try to represent current existing members where their expirations would come, either in 2019, 2020, or 2021. And then the recommendation that the rotating positions, the hospitals, and then the school districts be given a full 3-year term to have an opportunity to fully participate. All subsequent appointments will be for 3-year terms pursuant to statute.
Thank you. So just, commissioners, we have a responsibility not only to give names, we have a responsibility to for terms, and we have a responsibility to also the order of which hospital and school districts will participate in what order as well. So you contemplate this decision today, if you'd include that when it comes time to make a motion in your presentation.
If Commissioner Jenkins is ready, I'll be happy to make a motion.
I'm ready.
I'll make a motion that we appoint for the Weber Morgan Health Department, representing Weber Medical Society Frank Brown, representing Weber State University Ken Johnson, representing Ogden City Neil Garner, representing Weber Human Services the Director Kevin Eastman, Midtown Community Center Director Alicia Martinez, representing the environmental would be Jennifer Bodine, representing our local business representative Cole M. Brinkerhoff. Our rotation for our hospital representation would start with McCady and then rotate to Ogden with Donna Chapman representing McCady Hospital. And our rotation for the school district would be Ogden City and then Weber School District, starting with Karen Harrop.
Chair recognizes the motion before a second is gone on there. The chair would like to name Morgan School District, or have your motion be clear that it would be Ogden, Weber, then Morgan. Morgan wasn't mentioned in the motion, and then we also recognize that WACOG will be named at a subsequent meeting, and discussion on which member of this commission will serve on that board.
Accepted as a friendly amendment.
Okay.
And Commissioner, if just one quick, do you intend to nominate who the member of the Weber County Commission will be for the appointment?
Do we have to make that decision today? That would be a component of our portfolio adjustments, and we have not made those decisions yet.
It's something that could be deferred.
Okay.
What we're concerned
I'd hate
about
to dump that
is,
on Commissioner Jenkins without talking to him.
and that's something that's it's appropriate for you to do. The concern is just making sure that we have a quorum, which would be 7 members for this upcoming board meeting, which if we're appointing 9, and then I believe the Morgan County Council in their upcoming council meeting have 2 listed. So it's possible to convene a Board of Health meeting while you discuss that appointment.
When is our next meeting?
It's Monday.
So we don't have a chance.
Any volunteers?
So let me say here, there's plenty of members on that board. I think you're not going to have trouble not having a quorum.
Correct. It will be a fully functioning board with the ability to create a quorum.
So we'll be okay if that doesn't happen for 2 weeks or for a week till we get a quorum. So with that in mind, I'd second the motion.
But we
I've got it.
There will be a couple of action items on as we talk about the housing regulation, and then we also have to do updates to what the legislature did on the tobacco permitting regulation. So, but the action is to go to public hearing. So I would imagine by our meeting in August that you'd have someone that could weigh in on that and hear what the public hearing. So I just wanted to make sure that you knew that there would be a couple of action items on the board meeting.
Thank you, Brian.
We have 2 COG appointments that are presently assigned.
Correct.
Even though we only have 1 position, if one of them showed up, could we count them as a quorum, or does this?
I'd be happy to confirm, but the new interlocal supersedes the old appointments, and so it has a vacancy.
Okay.
So that one has not been filled.
Okay,
Great.
we'll
So
recruit.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any more discussion on this item?
That's Resolution 23.
Be resolution number 23. Thank you, Fatima. If there's no more discussion on resolution number 23, I'll call for the individual vote.
Commissioner Ebert?
Aye.
Commissioner Jenkins?
Aye.
Chair Hartley?
Aye. That resolution carries unanimously. Mr. Benyon?
Thank you.
Thank you. Very good. Mr. Park, this is a request for approval of the 2018 tax rates.
Morning, Commissioners.
Good Good morning, Mr. Park.
So just as a reminder, budgets are discussed in October and November of each year for the following year. So we had our discussions on the 2018 budget back in October and November of 2017. And we set a final budget in December of 2017. But at that time, we don't know the final property values. The tax rolls haven't been finalized yet. And so what we do is we wait until the end of the year. You have a chance to appeal your values. And the tax rolls are finalized in the end of May. And so once the tax rolls are finalized, you can actually finalize the tax rates. Now, we're not raising taxes here. There was no tax increase in 2018. All we're doing is an administrative action to finalize the tax rates that were already discussed in a public hearing back in November and December. So with that, if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer those. Otherwise, I'd ask that you approve the tax rates that we discussed last year.
So no tax increase.
Correct. No tax increase for the 2018 calendar year.
Questions?
I do have a question. So, without truth and taxation hearings, these stay flat. That's correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And so, that feels real good, no tax increase. Thank you.
And we don't have to have a truth and taxation hearing if we lower taxes either, do we?
That is correct. We can set the tax rate lower than what we've had in previous years. We just can't raise it above the prior year revenue without going through truth and taxation.
Great. Commissioners, any other questions? I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. If there's no other question, I'll call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Park. Appreciate that. Mr. Steve Burton, this is a request for approval of a final reading of an ordinance of the Weber County Commissioners, Weber County proposing amendments to the development service fees. Steve Burton.
Hi, Commissioners.
Hello.
So as was stated, this is the second and final reading of an ordinance proposing changes to the development services fees. As I stated last week, we're just proposing 3 new categories. We're not proposing to increase any fees. The 3 new categories, I can just go over those again briefly, are what the Planning Division refers to as a building parcel designation for the $75 fee. A zoning development agreement without a rezone is a $600 fee plus $10 per acre. The zoning development agreement amendment fee is $350 plus $20 per page, or $150 per page, whichever is less. I'll answer any questions if there are any.
Commissioners, any questions?
Questions? So, these that have pluses by them, are those increases?
They are not increases.
I see the base, and so I assume the base, they're not really changing. Is there any, well, I should ask you, which ones are changing?
There are no fees that are changing. We're actually proposing new categories of fees for services that the Planning Division is providing. We just haven't been paid for them.
Okay.
So you have services, to my understanding, there are services that have never been included before, but we're still performing, but are not charging for, and so you're adding fees for those services that are new.
Correct.
Great.
Are these fees being charged by other counties?
Yes, they are.
And do these fees fall in line with those other counties, above, below, at a median?
They do. I would say at a median. These are in the fees. So if you look at the zoning development agreement fees, those are based off of our current fees that were adopted last year. For like a rezone or something like that, we just require a development agreement, and we've determined that these the cost is fair with the service that we're providing, and is in line with other counties and cities.
Thank you.
Okay, great. Commissioners, have questions?
I do. So can you give me an example of one of these that are new?
Sure.
Point one out there.
So the new, and I apologize, if you look on the staff report, the second to last page, it actually shows you the fees that are new.
All the ones in blue?
Yes.
Oh, I'm with you.
Three that are new. So one is a building parcel designation. That's really just an administrative fee. What it does is it allows an owner who has two lots that are adjacent
Right.
to basically combine them for building purposes, to build across property lines.
Okay, very good, thank you.
So again, the concern you always have is, are we pricing ourselves out of a competitive market? Are we putting too many fees on developers or on individuals purchasing, building? How are we seeing that so that we're still competitive, but we're not overly regulated? Does that make sense?
The question is how we're balancing that we're not overly regulated. Well, I would just say that a zoning development agreement takes a lot of time to ensure that the county, I guess, gets what it wants out of a rezone, and it also ensures that a developer would get what it wants out of a rezone. So the fact that we just haven't been charging people for it. So it's basically just been free to developers to do. I guess because we know that we're charging $600 for a rezone right now, regardless of these changes, we would say that it's a fair cost.
All right, thank you.
Commissioners, I'll entertain any more questions you may have of Mr. Burton. None being heard, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Ordinance 7.
We have a motion to approve Ordinance 7.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve Ordinance 7. If there's no more discussion, I'll call for the vote.
Commissioner Ebert?
Aye.
Commissioner Jenkins?
Aye.
And Chair Harvey?
Aye. Thank you. That carries unanimously. Before you come, Jennifer, I made a mistake. We discussed this. I'm going to take you back on our item number 2, F2, for the Weber Morgan Health Board. We've discussed members, but we need to discuss their terms. So who would fill 1, 2, and 3-year terms? Mr. Crockett, can you just review those one more time for the commissioners, just so that we're all consistent today, please?
Sure. On an initial board, state law requires that terms be staggered as closely as possible so that 1/3 of the membership expires each year so that the board at all times can convene a quorum and conduct business. A recommendation was given by the Attorney's Office in the Health Department a recommendation of how those terms should expire allocated to the various positions. We tried to get as closely as we could to members who are already serving on the Board of Health and would likely continue into that their service as new members, and then also with the consideration that on the hospitals and the school districts that they're serving on a rotating basis to give them a full 3-year term so that they could fully participate. But of the 13 members, 4 positions would be expiring in 2019, 4 in 2020, and then 5 in 2021.
And you're saying your recommendation was that both hospital and the school district, because the rotating would start off as the full 3-year rotation?
Correct.
And did you have a recommendation for those who are already serving?
Yes, and in the packet that we sent you, those we tried. They're not all exactly aligned up with where they're currently serving, but we try to get it as closely as possible. The recommendation for the county commission appointment expiring 2020, Morgan County Council 2020, the Morgan County at-large position 2021, Ogden City 2019, the WAGHOG appointment 2019, Weber Medical Society 2021. School Districts 2021, Weber State 2019, Weber Human Services 2019, the Hospital 2021, Midtown 2021, and then the 2 at-large positions 2020.
Thank you. Commissioners, any other questions? Then I'll entertain a motion. If you'll just specify that, please, in your motion.
Well, I'll make a motion to adopt the exact language that Mr. Crockett just outlined with those expiring dates specific to the members.
I'd be happy to get with Fatu to make sure that we've got the correct date.
I can go through it if you want. Weber County Commission 2020, Morgan County Council 2020, Morgan City at Large 2021, Ogden City 2019, Wake Up 2019, Weber Medical Society 2021, School District Ogden first in the rotation 2021, Weber State 2019, Human Services 2019, McKay-Dee Hospital starting first in the rotation at 2021, Midtown Community Health Center 2021, Weber at Large would be a 2020, and Weber at Large Business would be a 2020.
Will work.
Great. So you've made that motion. Is there a second? Hearing none, I'll make that second to the motion. I'll call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Motion carries. Thank you. We'll now go to item number 5. Jennifer Graham taking the place of Duncan Olson on the next 3 items. This first one is a request for approval of a contract by and between Weber County and Rocky Mountain Barrel Racing Association to hold a barrel race in conjunction with the Red, White, and Blue Buck Wild event at the Golden Spike Event Center a week from this weekend, the 29th and 30th, 2018. Ms. Graham.
Thank you. Good morning. Yes, this is the Buck Wild is a self-promoted event that we started last year, so this is our second year, but we are going to be adding a barrel race in the riding arena. The Buck Wild takes place out in the stadium, and so this is just a contract. The county will be self-promoting this as well, and we'll be adding $1,000 for contestant money, added purse money. So just looking for approval of that contract.
Commissioners, before I I want to make sure that you understand, having been part of the Golden Spike, a self-promoted event is our tax monies that the Culture, Parks, and Recreation use to promote an event. We hope, and it has been history, that the return on those tax monies forwarded bring us a yield, a strong yield. So we basically take some money and we turn it into more. And so it's usually been a very good investment on the tax dollars, very good investment. Plus it provides opportunity and culture of Western type for our citizens. And so it's been, the self-promoted events at our facilities have been a fantastic investment. Put $1 in and get 4 or 5 back in return.
Yes, we do look at those every year to make sure we're on the right trends there. This is a new event. This is our second year, so
Great.
It's still growing.
Thank you. Any questions for this contract?
You could almost call this economic development.
You could almost call it economic development of a cultural or a tourism's type.
There you go.
Yeah. I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
And we have a motion and a second to approve this contract. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Please continue with item number 6, which is a request for approval of a contract by and between Weber County and the Broken Heart Rodeo Company, LLC, to hold a rough stock championship rodeo as part of the Red, White, and Blue Buck Wild. Same event. Go ahead.
Yes, so this is the original event that we started with. This is the one in the stadium where it is the rough stock events, which seem to be the most exciting in the rodeo for most people. And we also, I just wanted you to know, we actually have our induction of our Hall of Fame at this event, which we're adding a couple people every year, as well as we provide some recognition for the first responders and the military for our country. So this event, we are paying the contestant added money of $6,000 toward this event. So
Super. Just another facet to this event. Commissioners, any questions? I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and seconded. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. And the next is another component of the same event, which is a mechanical bull with Weber County and the CFM Inc. Party Times Rental.
And what is a Buck Wild without some way of the general patrons and public getting involved? So this Buck Wild mechanical bull will be there to add a little to the music and the food vendors and the vendors that we have for the festive atmosphere of the courtyard. So this is just a contract looking for approval for that.
Commissioners, any questions? None being recognized, I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, great. I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you,
Thank
Ms.
you.
Graham. Ms. Wilson, this is a request for approval of a contract by and between the Weber County Fair and Weber County Fair for Mike Van Alphen for a demolition derby at this year's It's a Pig Deal at the 2018 Weber County Fair.
You're right, it is a pig deal. So yes, like you said, this is a contract between Weber County and Mike Van Alphen. Mike has produced our demolition derby for a number of years. Contracts for $5,500. There is a change, and I apologize if you noticed on the number 4, the duties and obligation of the contractor. Letter C is crossed out. We also need to cross out K, if you could do that. These were negotiations due to some other events that were happening between now and the fair. We're working on some really great promotions for our drivers. Seems how there are a number of derbies between now and county fair time. So if you wouldn't mind making that change, and then if you have any questions for me.
Ms. Wilson,
Commissioner Harvey,
item K and item C like Charlie.
correct?
Okay. C for correct as well. Very good. Thank you. This demolition derby for decades is sold out. I remember seeing one of the first demolition derbies was out in the center of the racetrack. It was 24 years ago. I think it was 3, because it was the second year, right?
A long time ago.
Yeah, a long time ago.
Yeah, let's just
Chen
do that.
had just finished her sophomore year at high school then.
I wish.
Came to work at Weber County. So, commissioners, any questions about this contract for the demolition derby at this year's fair? By the way, the fair takes place the 8th, 9th, 10th, and 11th of August.
7 weeks and 1 day. But who's counting?
Yeah. Great. Entertain a motion?
So, second.
Okay. I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Thank you.
Did you mention to Commissioner Jenkins that because he's the new commissioner, he will be in the derby? Yeah, did you mention that to him?
Those are other duties as described.
Other duties as assigned. There
And
you
we're glad that Becky stepped out for a moment so she
I
could
know,
hear
she
that.
laughed, so I thought I'd tell him.
He can break that news. Thank you, Jan.
Thanks, Commissioners.
Okay, Mr. Felix, this is a request for approval of a contract by and between Weber County and Intermountain Geo-Environmental Services, Inc. for geological, geotechnical engineering services for the North Ogden Divide rehabilitation. Braden Felix.
Yes, sir.
Thank you for bringing this to us. What do you have for us today?
The North Ogden Divide is in need of a lot of work. If you've driven on it lately, you'll see there's a lot of pavement failing in a number of places. There's also some slope stability issues we've been facing out there. So we are hiring out for some outside help to get some engineering services evaluated on it for some hazard mitigation. That's going to include some geotechnical study. And we're doing that in 2 separate contracts with IGES and with Talos Minden. IGS to provide the geotechnical and geological hazard evaluation, and Talasman Consultants to provide the engineering services. 2 separate contracts in order to save us a little bit extra money.
Very good. One of the questions I have before, on these, has there been, and I know the road's very narrow. I know that it would cost a great deal of taxpayer money. But can you speak to active transportation or bicycling on that divide, please?
I could tell you that it's not safe as of right now and that it would require quite a bit of widening. And in order to do some widening, you would need to bring in a lot of fill. You have to bring a lot of earth material or else cut into the mountain. All of which that would require some more study outside of my expertise. I could also tell you it would be fairly expensive, but that it would be a better connection, whereas we don't see much that connection for Ogden Canyon because we see the active transportation is kind of tough to carry through there right now as well.
It is a great climb for those who like to
if they're into
cycle.
that sort of thing, yeah.
If those are interested, but they are people of our community. And where possible, I'm speaking for just myself here, I'd like to appeal to all I want to make sure it's very safe for the drivers, especially the students that come up and over that divide every day. But if there's an opportunity to have a better route for bicyclists up and over, again, I can't imagine making that climb is so steep. I can't imagine doing it, but I would love it to be a nice or a better opportunity for cyclists. Just making a statement more, not a recommendation at this time because of the cost. Commissioners, questions for Mr. Felix?
Question.
Yes, Mr.
So, I see down here you have rockfall.
Yes.
You know, so in so many places like this where you have steep grade uphill, they seem to put wire coverings on them. Large, you see great big large ones, and it seems to control it pretty good. If you go across the divide on a regular basis, that's one of the hazards you see on a regular basis, is large rocks laying in the middle of the road. Now, I'm not sure we've had any large rocks in that history actually hit a car. Well, take that back. Hit a car enough to force over the edge. I'm sure there's probably been some hit cars. But that seems to be one of the major issues up there on safety, is rocks that fall and lay on the road, right?
It is.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm very much in favor of looking at this. Plus, snow storage is a big issue. You know, in the winter, to keep that open, you gotta have a place to push the snow. And if there's a railing, it's hard to get snow over the railing. So, yeah, I'm very much in favor of this.
I might point out too that our roads department, as it relates to that, has done an excellent job. It was forwarded to me not this last year, but the year before, that we actually took a big. We own a snow blower for some of the stuff we have to do in the snow. It was probably 8. I wish that Scott or Joe Hadley were here, but 12 feet that they were blowing this snow so it could go up and over and make that passable and safe for the residents. They really do a wonderful job, and a lot of time their service goes noticed only by a few, but unsaid, and I just wanted to point that out, that we appreciate that. Thank you, Mr. Felix. Is there any other questions, Commissioners?
So, Braden, when we first started discussing this in our budget hearings last year, there were two focus areas, rockfall and erosion. But we had a lot of concerns from the residents up there about safety, and Commissioner Jenkins addressed some issues and concerns about railing. I know that there was some focus and change on what we were looking at. Have we gone beyond the erosion and rockfall as a singular, or the two areas we're focused in on? Are we looking at some other safety measures we can take?
The rockfall and erosion are geologic concerns, and geotechnical solutions are what are going to help us with that. That's what IGS is going to be helping us with. Whereas the safety of the road and the conditions that you will find on the road itself is going to be evaluated by Talisman Consultants, and they will be presenting options to us on how to fix it.
And I guess I'm asking the question because it's kind of loaded a little bit. I'm wondering if you have an idea what those options would be to create more safe roadway. Yeah, are we looking at more guardrail? What would we be looking at to increase that safety? That's what the citizens are really wondering about, beyond the erosion and rockfall.
They will evaluate the existing barriers right now, whether it be the Jersey concrete barrier or if it's guardrail, and they'll present options to us on how to make it safer if it is needed there. The edge of the road is definitely going to be included in the study.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Great. Any other questions, Commissioners?
You know, when I was a young kid, we used to go up to the Upper Valley in Hull Hay. And one time we were coming back over that North Ogden Divide, and I was on the rider's side, and I'd fallen asleep. Well, the guy that was driving, you know how you get erosion that goes along there between the asphalt and the wall. It creates a little bit of a trench in there. And sometimes that trench gets pretty deep. Well, we were driving along there, and next thing I know, the guy that was driving allowed the front tire of that vehicle to slide into that trench. We was going about 35, 40, 45 miles an hour. And I woke up and I looked like that, and all I could see is that wall going by. And we couldn't get out of that trench. And I thought I was going to die before that was over. But we never did hit the wall because we were in the trench. So they kept us from hitting the wall, but you couldn't get out of that thing. It scared me half to death. But with that, I make a motion we approve this.
Second.
Motion recognized, accepted, as well as the second. If there's no more discussion, call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Now, wait a second. Excuse me, commissioners. You made a motion. I want to be specific. You presented, Mr. Felix, item number 9 and 10 simultaneously. The chair is going to ask you, Commissioner Jenkins, to make a motion on item 9 and then item number 10 individually so that we're...
That motion was for 9.
Okay, great. Thank you. And
So now I'd make a motion we approve 10.
Second.
we have a motion and second for number 10. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. We're
None.
satisfied. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr. Barron, this is another nice thing. This is the request for approval of a resolution of the Weber County Commission appointing members to the Weber County Library Board of Trustees.
Yeah, good morning, Commissioners.
Brian Barron, thank you.
I'm the attorney who's assigned to advise the library board, and our library director, Linda Waingsgard, is out getting the North Branch ready for the festivities this Saturday. So she's asked me to come to commission meeting and present this resolution to you. 2 of our board members on the library board of directors have been serving for the past 4 years. Kathleen Jensen and Brent Innes. They've done a fantastic job, but their terms are now expiring the end of this month, and so we need to get some new board members in there. Pursuant to state statute, the commission has the authority to appoint or to reappoint board members to the library board. The library board met at the beginning of this month, and they voted on the applications that have been submitted for these positions. And I believe they submitted a letter to you with their recommendations. Their first recommendation is that Ms. Kathleen Jensen be reappointed to serve a second term. And then they recommended that the following names be considered, listed in order of priority. And that is Reed Spencer, Nancy Jo Crocker, Susan P. Skordas, and Jolene Zito.
For the 2 vacancies of the library board, commissioners, are there any questions?
Question I have is, how do they come up with these other names?
The library board is continuously advertising and accepting applications for positions. And so they go through the applications in the board meeting that have been received, and they discuss them and vote on who they think would be most beneficial to the library, depending on what issues the library is facing at that particular time.
So the question I'd have to the other commissioners, have you seen these before right now? Have you had a chance to talk to any of these people or vet them?
I'll answer first. I've been on the library board with Miss Kathleen, and I've met only Mr. Spencer.
Okay.
It's in Commissioner Harvey's portfolio, so I'll defer to recommendations he has on individuals, and they went through a process, and I feel comfortable with their process. I've worked with Kathleen, and I know that she's very dedicated, but as far as the other individuals, I have not met them.
I'm rather comfortable in what I've learned here, that a good responsible vetting process within the library board took place of the candidates and their applications, and that we've met the statute as required, as Brian commented on.
All right, thanks.
Great. Are there any other questions, commissioners? None being recognized, I'll entertain a motion for the ongoing the appointing of members to the Weber County Library Board of Trustees.
Will be Resolution 24.
I'll make a motion we adopt Resolution 24.
Second.
Commissioners, there are 2. Go ahead. Thank you.
Appointing Kathleen Jensen, or reappointing Kathleen Jensen for 1 seat, and Reed F. Spencer for the 2nd seat.
Thank you. Commissioner Jenkins, can you second that?
Yes, I can.
Thank you very much. That answers my question. Questions on that? I have a motion and a second. Resolution 24, Fatima.
Commissioner Ebert?
Aye.
Commissioner Jenkins?
Aye.
And Chair Harvey?
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
If you'd report back to Ms. Wangsgard.
Well, thanks.
Thank you. Ms. Kiltz, this is a request for a contract by and between Weber County and Co-File Technologies to restore books containing liens, leases, and quitclaims deeds. Ms. Kiltz, I've seen your collection of books. Thank you very much. This has been long awaited, long coming. You've talked about this for a while. You have one of the most outstanding collections in the state of Utah amongst all 29 counties. Please tell us about this.
Thank you, Commissioner Harvey. First, I'd like to welcome Commissioner Jenkins. And by the way, this is my first contract. I've never done a contract, so this is kind of exciting for us. Next, I want to thank Brian Barron. He helped me with the contract, and we're kind of excited about this. Yes, I talked to my constituents, recorders, on who I should get to help me observe these filings. That's how we came up with Co-File. And they have given us the contract, and we're kind of excited about restoring our books. Commissioner Jenkins, just in case you don't know, you haven't been able to see my books. They have fallen apart, basically. And we are going to put those back together. I feel that my records are worth restoring. And so we've just started a project that's kind of a small, make sure that we're satisfied with the restoration and that, and then we'll just move forward from there to make sure it works out.
I've seen your books.
You've seen my books.
I haven't this year, but last year. And so if they haven't improved, I absolutely understand the need for this.
So we wanted to take it small and just take it a little bit at a time, make sure the direction that we were going. So that's why I'm here today, and I feel that that restoration is we are in dire need of that. So
Wonderful. Questions for Ms. Kiltz? Recorder Surveyor.
I'll make a motion.
I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion. We approve the contract by and between Weber County and Co-File Technologies for book restoration.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. With no other questions being recognized, and motion and seconded, I'll call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you.
Great. We're now on to item G of our agenda. For those in the public, if you'd like to have any comments or questions, please limit your comments to 3 minutes. State your name and address at the mic. And with none being recognized, I'll entertain a motion for item number H.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
And non-debatable. We stand adjourned. Thank you, Commissioners.